Hello and welcome to episode 119 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Basically, a couple of regular dudes drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That's right, and this week we're going to talk a little bit more about standard. We've been kind of in this like standard thing going on. There's a lot of standard tournaments, there's like all this stuff happening, the bans and everything. So we're just going to keep on that train because why not? New stuff. Cards got banned, format changed. Let's keep talking about it. But first, each week we both bring a beer. We drink Jeff's, then drink mine, rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right. This week we have High Grade. This is an
Mm-hmm.
IPA from Fairweather. Says right on it has barley oats and a fat bag of Simcoe Idaho 7 Citra and Mosaic. Those are all hops. So it's basically saying it has a lot of hops at
Yes.
6.2%, and it has this fun can floral pattern and parrots on it.
Yes.
Um, this is almost like the quintessential Hamilton beer in a sense, because Fairweather's brewed from Hamilton. We've done it before on the show. But like, in my opinion, the best brewery in Hamilton. But
Mm-hmm.
you go to any like hipster restaurant or bar in Hamilton, they'll almost certainly have this. This will be like the thing they carry, and that's their IPA. So
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, I'm psyched to do this on the show. I had a ton of high grades. It's not my first time having it.
Oh, well,
Um,
it's my first time. This is very exciting. And I got this from the really hipster coffee shop close to my apartment in Toronto, who specifically
yeah,
get it from Hamilton because they like it so much. So, yeah, let's crack it open. I did want to say the actual artwork on this with the parrots and the limes and the flowers and stuff. It makes me want to have a shirt that looks like this.
I know. I wonder if they sell a shirt that just
If
has
they
this.
do, I want one very badly.
This
And
is like very much their aesthetic, so I wouldn't
yeah,
even be that surprised.
as we're saying that, we were just talking about our shirts this evening that we did not
Yes.
plan. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I have my jellyfish shirt, and Jeff is wearing his jam band T-shirt.
They're jamming.
Yeah, it's a
But
bunch
it could
of.
be some jellies in there.
That's true. It's jellies and jams.
Yeah.
These are, if you're listening, they're jars of jam playing instruments. Um, so it's our Jelly Jam episode. Is that the title? Who knows?
Yeah. The jelly jam. We're gonna get
The
no listens.
Jelly Jammers?
Nobody understands
Just a standard Jelly Jammer.
it.
Anyway, um, we do have some magic news. This last weekend, June 3rd and 4th, was a big round of regional championships all over the place. So they had one in Toronto, which I was able to attend, but they also had them in Dallas and like all over the United States, a bunch of different places. This is where they do their big roundup. The format was Pioneer, and there was like a big breakout Pioneer deck. I don't know if you saw it. Um, it's have you heard of this, the deck that came
I
out?
actually don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so there was like some secret tech that came out, and it's a combo deck using
Cool.
Archfiend of the Dross. You're gonna like this combo. It's exactly the type of combo you like. So Archfiend of the Dross, if you remember, is from Phyrexia All Will Be One. It's the 4 mana, like 6/6 with flying, and when it enters, it's
Oh yeah.
black. And when it enters the battlefield, it gets like 4 oil counters, and each turn it at your upkeep, you have to take one off, and if you don't have any more oil counters on it, you lose the game. But every time your
Okay.
opponent's creatures die, they like lose 2 life or something. So you use that, and then there is a an aura from M19, I think. It's like Metamorphosis or something. It's like 1 blue, and it just says enchanted creature becomes a copy of another creature.
Uh,
And so you
but
put it on your opponent's creature, and it turns into Archfiend of the Dross, but it
but it
doesn't get
won't have
any
any.
counters
Yeah,
because it didn't enter the battlefield. And so
I
then
do love that combo
your opponent
actually.
just dies immediately. Um, Amazing. I got
How,
so
how does it how does it beat decks that don't play creatures?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I haven't looked at like a full list, but I was like watching all these like combo players like do all right. I was like following on Twitter, and Fire Shoes was doing a bunch of stuff in Dallas, I think, and so he had posted it, and I was just like, "That's awesome. That's so cool."
That is awesome. Like
Yeah,
if that's legitimately a competitive strategy, I'm all for that. Like
yeah. I
that
did.
is so disruptable. There's like
Yeah,
if
it's
that's the combo deck to beat, I'm
that's
okay with
that's the combo deck. Um, yeah, you basically get to combo off on turn like 5 if your creature survives. Like stuff like that.
it. Not to mention it's hilarious. So I sit
So
there, they're gonna turn my fucking Voldaren Epicure into a lose machine, and I'm just gonna have to sit there and take it.
yeah, I wonder. There's like a couple black creatures you could play that give them creatures,
It
like
must
uh,
be something like that,
like
right?
that
Like
troll. What's the
the
bridge black
hunted.
troll? Well, you
Uh,
could the hunted troll. Can you play that in
I don't think
Pioneer?
those are in Pioneer, but like something like those, right? Oh, the
Well,
Clackbridge
the
troll.
Clackbridge troll is the one I was thinking that gives them a
Yeah.
bunch of goats. You turn a goat into an archfiend in the draws.
I'm
I
just
just,
imagining like this battle where you're trying to get your opponent's creatures and they're trying to kill their own creatures in response. Like,
but then they're losing life because you have your own archfiend. Anyway,
right.
it's it seems really funny, and basically throughout the weekend, people were talking about how like watch out, you can't play it on MTGO because it's bugged, but
Hmm.
you can play the deck and explore. I think it's basically like a blue black kind of control deck with this as a finish. And
Yeah.
the only card in the list, I'm not remembering a list at this moment now that I forgot I had seen. So that's why I'm listing this off. The only thing that we didn't have is dig through time, but
Hmm.
that's easily replaceable in Explorer. So
This
definitely
sounds like one
something.
of those classic decks that is amazing because of all the really good blue black cards in it, and the combo is just an LOL way to win the game.
Basically, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So you're not trying to like do it as fast as possible. You're trying to control the game and then do it, I guess. Um, but I love it. I love it. I love it.
Basically, inverter combo, just with a different, slightly worse combo.
Yeah, yeah, basically, because you can't play that anymore. Um, so that was fun. I actually went to the regional championship in Toronto, not playing the main event because I wasn't qualified, but I played some side events, which was it was good, but I did a whole heck of a lot of losing.
Hmm.
Did I? Um,
I feel like that's
I
what happens when you don't play a format at all and then you show up to a competitive event.
I mean, to be fair, the first event I did was I played draft, and
Oh,
I
okay.
they do
Well,
single
then you. Oh, but this is a format that you've been doing a lot of losing.
yeah, so nothing new there. Um, so single elimination, I just lost the first round to this guy who is super nice, really sweet dude. He's been playing Magic forever, and he was playing in the main event. So this was on Friday before.
Mhm,
From he's from Newfoundland, and
mhm.
I thought you would think this is interesting because number one, we were talking about core sets, and he loves core sets, which I feel like me
Yes.
and Jeff, that's one of the only things that we really miss, and feel like a lot of people don't feel the same way. So if you like
Yeah.
core sets, give us a shout out because we love them.
And
Um,
give Wizards a shot. So bring them
mhm,
back.
yeah, but you would probably like it because, I mean, it's a version of that, but he drafted Rakdos in the draft and basically said that he can't stop playing Rakdos. It's the only thing he ever plays.
Nice.
However, I did lose because he had like not only did he have a Chandra, but he also had an OG Shieldred, and he had like
Oh.
invasion of destroy legendary creatures, whichever that one is,
Mhm.
slash non-legendary ones. So that was pretty rough. Um,
I
and then he
can't, for some reason, I always draft Rakdos when I
yeah
see Chandra and Shieldred.
that's yeah, and that's basically what he was saying. He was like, I tried not to, but like you just kept passing me all these bombs. um and then he was also playing Rakdos mid-range in the main event, and so
Oh,
he
I
was
hope
just
he
like,
did well.
last time I had seen him, I saw him on Saturday and he was 2-3, so not doing super great,
Oh.
but
Yeah, that
anyway.
sounds like we're cut from the same cloth, bringing Rakdos to a random Pioneer event and going 2-3.
Yeah.
my thing.
I think I like this guy. Um, but no, he was super chill. And like, that was probably some of the best parts of the weekend. We're just like going randomly meeting people, letting them beat me, losing to people.
Yeah,
And then being like, man, you guys are sick. And he was one of the reasons I was like, man, I wish I was playing the main event. That'd be fun, like to go and
right. And then you could, catch up in between rounds and stuff. It's so much more fun to
exactly
play an event like that with like
people
someone you know or a
or a
friend,
group
but
or
like it
something.
doesn't even have to be, a friend. It should just be someone you met the night before or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can just like
but
keep track and win whatever. Um, but I
that's
did play.
awesome. Did you played some Pioneer though?
I did play a Pioneer Challenge. I built Celestia Auras just to bring to the event,
Mhm.
which was great. My matches were almost all good. I lost. I went 0-3, but all my opponents were super nice people, which I really enjoyed all of them. They were super cool, and they were all different decks. I played Rakdos, Phoenix, and Azorius Control,
Oh,
and they were all really close. They all went to game three, and I like
nice.
made some bad mulligan decisions and some bad misplays and stuff, and some bad sideboarding. But I think I learned a lot from them.
Sideboarding is it's so hard.
Yeah, it turns out that Thing in the Ice is really good against auras. Who knew? Um,
I do that.
yeah, I know. So realizing that certain cards are the main thing I need to stop, being like, oh, sideboard in everything to stop that card. Okay, all right, and then
Yeah.
mulligan till you get that card. Okay, cool.
Honestly, I think some people underrate that. Like they think sideboarding is such a fine art that they forget that sometimes there's one card you have to beat, and your sideboard plan is to do literally everything in your power to beat that card because you
Yeah,
you cannot beat your strategy itself cannot beat it.
yeah, and I
And so they
think
they like overthink it. They're like, oh, I don't want to overreact to them having this card. It's like, no, if there's a card in your opponent's deck that your strategy literally cannot handle, you have to overreact to it.
mhm,
Like it may not be the best. Maybe you'll draw five removal spells that say destroy target thing in the ice, and your opponent doesn't draw anything in the ice, but you have to take that chance.
yeah, I definitely think that's true because uh, I
That's my philosophy, anyways. But yeah,
no, that I think that's great, and I think you're right. Even and especially with decks like auras, where you can be really explosive, but like it's so fragile, and it just reminds me of Benton Madsen in the finals of the Pro Tour, being like, "I'm going to
yeah,
mulligan till I get the
right.
card,
Like
because if I don't have this card, I lose. Like I have
it
to have
seems
this card."
extreme, but it's like a mediocre start will just never win
Hmm.
in that matchup, right? And he knew that. So
Yeah,
it looks crazy because he's in like the finals and mulliganing and
to
himself
like
out of a
four.
championship is what it looks like. But he knows that each hand he mulliganed had like essentially a 0% chance to win.
Yeah.
So it's
And he's gone back and looked at those hands and once again said, nope, I was right. I would do the exact same
right.
thing.
Especially when I'm pretty sure in that match, like Reed like picks up his hand, it's like keep
Yeah,
it's like,
basically.
okay, well,
So,
pretty sure I need to come out the gates here
yeah.
because that, like, you could almost see it on Reed's face that that's a turn four win for Reed.
Hmm.
So you gotta do something.
Yeah. So, anyway, great weekend. Wish I was now I want to push harder and actually like be able to play in a main event like that because it seems like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it'd be so much fun.
But made me excited to play more Paper Pioneer, which I know isn't what this show's about, but it's nice. It's a nice little rejuvenation, I think. Um, anyway, we have some more Magic news after that little anecdote. This weekend is the qualifier weekend, so it's June 10th and 11th. The format is historic because the next Arena Championship number 4, is historic. So we're kind of starting the summer chunk of competitive play, and they're doing like we said last week or the week before, I can't remember, where they want to have all the like qualifier events be the same format or try to be the same format for the tournament you're actually playing in. I think it makes a lot of sense. Jeff, are you excited about playing in this event this weekend?
I am not.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
it's historic. I don't know, like just haven't played much historic from what I've read about it. It doesn't totally seem like the type of format I would love. Like I know
Hmm.
Kethis combo is huge, and I've always hated that deck. I hate like those kinds of combo decks where it's literally just we're both just gonna draw our hands and we're gonna see who does their thing. Like either you're gonna kill me before I do my thing, or I'm gonna do my thing insanely quickly and you can't win.
Yeah.
Like, nah, not super into that. Maybe the deck has evolved and in the historic format it's a little more interactive, but that's not how things tend to go. Usually
No.
when it moves into an older format, it's just faster.
Hmm.
Um, and like more resilient. And that's like the way it goes rather than more interesting matches. So no, no. I was actually going to play in the qualifier best of one this past weekend, and then because I assumed it would be standard, just because I had standard on the brain, really. And then I clicked into it, I saw historic, and I was like, oh, no, no.
Never mind. Um, but if you're interested as a historic player, please, by all means, go ahead, get excited about it. Um,
For sure.
that format has always just felt like a dumpster fire to both of us, which can be a lot of fun, honestly.
I've had fun with historic in the
Hmm.
past, so I'm not like just anti-historic. It's just right now, I think explore and standard are explore in particular super fun and like explore. I guess the reason I say explore in particular is that's sort of filling the gap that historic was filling for me before.
Yeah.
So explore is really the reason I don't play historic anymore. Um, but if you are a historic fan and you have deck lists that aren't Kepis combo and are super sweet, I would love to see them.
Yeah. And if they're not Crucius as well, which I think is very that the number of deck lists that aren't Kethis combo and don't have Crucius in it are like
Yeah.
so small. So we're interested in those. Um,
It's like this guy who goes 0-3 and is playing green white enchantments or something. That's the deck.
the only reason it's funny because the only reason I ever play historic anymore is just when I want to get my Azorius Auras fix and I jump in there and play some Core Spirit Dancer. But uh, anyway, um,
Still rocking your selfless saviors or whatever.
I don't know. I think I might have one or two in that deck, but now you play that Modern Horizons card that draws you cards when they play non-creature spells.
Whatever ridiculous card they've printed that does
Yeah,
the same thing but better.
yeah. Just it doesn't do the same thing, but it just card advantage. Anyway,
Right, just better.
just better. Anyway, Jeff, let's talk about a format we are excited about and interested in and have been playing a good amount. Standard.
Yeah.
So, how's it going? How's post-ban standard life?
All right. I think we need to address the elephant in the room,
Hmm.
which is we guessed at this last week when we talked about, whether the bans were enough. Um, I mean, the elephant in the room is that Esper Legends is, I think, by far the best deck in standard.
Hmm.
They just replaced one black sort of mid-rangey deck with another, as we thought might happen, and I haven't seen anything that dissuades me from that opinion. I've seen it like floating around online that Domain controls the best deck in standard. And I'm just like, that's not been my experience at all. Like I think Esper is way, way stronger and probably laughs at that matchup. So
Hmm.
I don't know totally where that opinion is coming from, but yeah, our fears have been realized that the deck that was good before Rakdos took over, now that they did was ban Rakdos, is now the best deck again.
Hmm.
Um, and if it does feel a bit ridiculous sometimes when they do the whole like, honestly, it doesn't even matter. But when they go Skrelv into any two
Thalia.
drop, Thalia,
Yeah.
Denic, whatever, into Rafine, you feel like you've already lost, and then like Shieldred as the fourth card is like, well, there's pretty much nothing I can do about that. That being said, I'm still having a ton of fun with the format, even though I
Hmm.
think it's sort of just the same form. Like it is what I was worried. It is the same format as before, except domain is no longer good against the best deck, where it used to be good against the best deck.
Hmm.
So it just feels like, before we had Rakdos, some stuff that beats on Rakdos, and then everything else gets trashed by Rakdos. And now it kind of feels like Esper and everything else gets trashed by Esper. But in some ways, that just makes it fun too, because it's like, I don't mind losing to Esper because I'm like, your deck's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think, yeah, that's right. That's also that's just how I feel about the whole situation. Though I luckily haven't been running into it that often.
Oh,
Um,
I see it all the time. That's crazy.
yeah, I think it's like I've been playing some ladder matches. So by my tiers, I think I'm gold 4, and so I'm like missing a lot of those. And then I jumped into an event playing Celestia Auras. Surprise, surprise. Sorry, not Auras.
What?
Enchantments, not Auras, not Auras. Um, Celestia enchantments, and
Well, you're probably playing. Are you playing Audacity?
I am playing Audacity. Yeah,
Well, that's an aura. So there
4
you go.
copies. Love that card. Um, but I actually ran into like Esper and was able to beat them in the event I was playing. But I only had to run into him once, which was really lucky. And I can just be explosive with that deck. So that ended up being okay. But I
Mhm.
also felt like they misplayed a couple times and I should have lost. So um, I just got lucky, I think.
I feel
But
like generally when I beat Esper, it's because they misplayed. Because I think I just hit platinum last
mhm,
night, so like you have been sort of climbing the lower ranks, but still running into Esper literally all the time. Or they just like got totally screwed or flooded. That's how I beat
mhm,
Esper. So I've literally had them at like 4 life with a board full of creatures, and they a few turns later they're at like 20 life, and I'm the one who is clawing my way, trying to like claw out of some big hole. I'm just like, you had no cards in hand. You had like 4 life left. You had a Shieldred on the battlefield. Next thing you know, I'm the one
mhm.
who's like, oh, I can't win this game. Like,
Yeah, Shieldred. It's
you
good.
okay, so I won't reveal what deck I'm playing quite yet, but I am
Okay.
finally playing a deck that is weak to Shieldred. I still think Shieldred's like worth is overstated, but
Yeah.
I
I don't
get
think
it a little more.
Jeff, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to convince you to say that you don't think that that's true anymore. Um,
But like I know it's like we were talking about before with even if it's similar to Thing in the Ice, where I just can't beat this card.
mhm.
I know that, so I have to take precautions. Like this is a card people play,
Yeah.
and it's like I think the real problem cards are the ones where even when you know you can't beat it, there's nothing you can do. Like Fable is the Mirror Breaker. It's just like if my opponent plays that on turn 3 on the play, I'm probably going to lose. But
Hmm.
there's literally nothing I can do about that. This one's like I just hold my removal for Shieldred,
Hmm.
or like I side in more removal that targets Shieldred, and don't waste it on 2 drops. Like
Yeah.
um, Fable was, it's like what are you gonna do?
Yeah. That's true. That's
Even
really true.
even if you side in enchantment removal,
Hmm. It made a creature.
you still got 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Like that's your best possible scenario against Fable is only getting 2 for 1. So it's
Oh,
like
fucking
Shieldred, like
Fable.
I can get away with a 2 point life swing and a 1 for 1. That's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe a 4 points life swing if
Or
I
more.
take too
Yeah.
long.
Um, and sometimes not even any points of life because you
Yeah.
can kill it beforehand. I did want to say the one thing that really pisses me off about Esper Legends is that Denick has been hosing my restoration of Iganjos, and I hate it because
Yeah.
the second chapter of no 2 cards in my deck, restoration of Iganjo because I want to get one of my creatures back from my graveyard, and then also the deck list I'm using has like what is it, Heart of Kirin, the or Kurin, what is that card? The green one, the green saga that like makes the dude mills, and then you like put a
Oh,
+1/+1 counter on something. No,
Um,
I was talking about
Teachings of the Kirin.
teachings of the Kirin.
Heart of Kirin is like the vehicle from
That's
way back
yeah,
when
yeah.
that would
With the
take
loyalty
Planeswalker
condition.
loyalty to crew it.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
right.
whoa, you're allowed to play. Has that been reprinted? Like,
No, 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 no. Sorry. Yeah, I knew it sounded weird when I was saying it, but I was like, it's the Kirin something, right?
I
But
mean,
they're
that's a
spelled
good card.
differently.
I'd play it if it was in standard.
Yeah, for sure. No, teachings of the Kirin. And that one, when it like the only good thing after it flips is that it targets things in graveyards, but Denick stops you from doing that, and it's been annoying enough where it's like that's I would much rather see a Thalia than a Denick. I was like, ugh,
Yeah, like just the lifelink on top of it. It's like
yeah, it's
this
like
whole card, like the fact that it's a 2/3. I hate everything about this card.
yeah.
It comes back and it's annoying then too.
I
It's
mean,
like,
like it's annoying because I love Denick and I loved when Denick came out and I liked the card and I was happy with it for so long, and now I don't like it. It's
yeah.
that's what's annoying. It's like
So
don't don't
there was
don't change this on me. I liked you so much. You
flip
used to
this
be
card.
my
Like
friend.
we were, if you recall, we were like the only ones on Danik, or when the set first came out, we were like the only card worth playing with
Disturb
Disturb
was
is
Denick.
Danik.
Yeah.
We actually missed the like Hermit and that was
Mm,
the Disturb card that everyone was playing and nobody
yeah.
played Danik. And it took like at least 6 months, and then Danik was everywhere. And so I
Yeah.
was kind of like, it felt vindicated, where I was like, yeah, Danik
Yeah.
is good
Denick
because
is good.
like when it came out, I was like, wow, we were right that there was only one Disturb card people were going to play, but we picked the
Uh,
wrong one.
Yeah.
And now,
Uh,
now we're back to being correct because nobody plays the Hermit now and everybody plays
it's
Danik. So
true. It's true. But obviously that was like the extra turns meta, so countering
yeah,
stuff was really important. Anyway, uh,
like all the little things with Danik just add up. I think sometimes they add up in a not so fun way. Like I don't think it's intended that it kind of hoses Restoration of Baiganjo. That feels like incidental damage. Like
well, the thing is that you have to be careful because if you don't remember, Restoration of Iganjo triggers if you discard a card, and then you
yeah,
can target something in your graveyard. Just say no.
you
Don't
don't get the
don't
card back. Yeah.
don't discard a card.
But that's the
Um,
type of stuff they've been trying to move away from, like the feel bad gotchas.
mhm.
And so that's why I'm tempted to say it wasn't intentional. Because like that's a feel bad for sure. And if you're a new player, like
Mhm.
come on. You're just gonna discard a card and get nothing from it. It feels similar to like the Narset Parter of Veils, and we like even no matter how experienced you were, you'd play a game where you played something and then you just hear like, fucking god, no.
Yeah,
Like
you're like,
ah
why is all my card draw at sorcery speed? Stuff like that.
yeah.
Ugh.
And it'd be even stuff you're just not used to, like interactions you haven't seen before, and it's like, oh yeah, I might get to draw a card off that.
Yeah,
Shouldn't have done that. Like
but
cycling a land or something. It's
yeah,
just like,
like I should just waited. Why did I do that? It's the same feeling as like you could kill a creature on your turn, but you wait and then you try to kill it on their turn, and they're able to protect it or counter it, and you're like, why didn't I just
yeah,
do that on my
no,
turn? Like that.
that
Oh,
was
why did I wait? I don't know.
yeah.
Um,
Good rule of thumb, by the way, keep it simple. Uh,
yeah,
only do that trick if your opponent has all their mana untapped, because then the idea is they're going to counter it either way. I don't want them to counter it and untap. I
yes,
want them to have to use the
hmm
mana on their turn to counter. But if they're tapped out, kill it. Don't
kill
be
it.
like, oh, I'm going to be fancy and do it on their draw step or upkeep
Yeah,
or something.
or
Just
like
no,
during
no. If you
combat or
need it to
something.
die, you need it to die, and you got to kill it while the killing's good.
Yeah, it's just sometimes like if you've had a couple beers and you're just in that
Oh, for sure.
mode,
Yeah, yeah.
you just slip right into it really easy. So just keep it
I,
simple,
I've
stupid.
made I've made that mistake. I say that, and I will still make that mistake.
Yeah.
Like that is not my last time making that mistake.
Yeah. So Jeff, I did want to ask. So this is completely off topic. So welcome to the show. Um, so is it the feel bad of like playing arena and you try to do a thing and then you realize that you can't do it worse than playing it in paper and you both not realizing that didn't work 5 turns later?
I would say
As far as feelings go, what's worse? What's the
I would
feeling
say
is?
the feel bad is um, more real on Arena. I
Interesting.
think when
Okay.
it's in when you when you do it in paper, the fact that your opponent also didn't realize kind of like lifts it a little bit.
Sure.
Like
Okay.
sometimes you still feel bad when like, oh, my opponent would have won if we didn't both kind of make this mistake. That's
Hmm.
still you still feel bad about that where you're like, oh, should I concede? Like I should probably concede, right? Like I technically lost this game. Um, but the fact that, nobody realized it makes you feel less like dumb, I guess. Whereas on Arena, when you just like you concoct this whole strategy, you make your plan, and then like step one is just off base. And Arena, like, it's not shy about just being like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And you feel kind of bad. Um, I don't know. I think it probably depends on your personality. Like, I'm a bit more extroverted, so I just like having people around, and like I don't mind being embarrassed in front of people.
Totally.
Like, whereas I get more embarrassed like for
When
myself,
you're
if
when
that's
you're
weird, where
alone.
I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah, because sometimes you're alone and you feel like really dumb, and you're like, oh, there's nobody to say like, oh, I would do the same thing. You're like, oh, just
right.
and then you just like go into a hole of like, I'm the
Nobody
fucking
to like
worst player.
commiserate with
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't even like, and even on Magic Online,
Hmm.
I could be like, LOL, like,
Mm.
or sometimes your opponent will
You
even
could type
message
it.
you like, I know exactly what happened. You're like, yeah, like you
Hmm.
get it. But on Magic Arena, all I can do is oops.
Yeah, and that
It's
feels
not
like,
satisfying.
well, that also makes it feel like horrible because even your opponent might say that to you, and you're like, because like, how do
They'll
you?
say oops, or like
Yeah,
you'll say oops and they'll say good game. Like, oh
yeah, you're like,
fuck
fuck you, but
you.
they're like, but they could have like the best interest at heart. They're like trying to commiserate with you. They just don't have the tools
They literally can't.
because all
Yeah.
the tools are like laughing emojis or like crying emojis and stuff, which I do love and I think they're fun and funny. But like, I wish it was easier to like give a hug somehow. I don't know to somebody.
Yeah. Like originally on Arena, I used to do that. I used to go like oops
Hmm.
when my opponent did something weird like that. Cause I was thinking like that communicates that I understand this is
That it
like a
was a
goof up.
mistake. Yeah, that
Right. But
wasn't.
I started to realize like it probably comes off as obnoxious when you're in that state that you just made a mistake. It sounds like me going, oops, that was a mistake,
Yeah,
like
it like
dumbass.
I,
Like,
I I totally get like that feeling of trying to be like I know you have communicated that that wasn't on purpose, and I know it wasn't on
right.
purpose,
Yeah.
but it is really difficult to communicate because it really comes across the same way as like when they counter your spell and say oops, and you're like, well,
Right.
fuck you, like,
Yeah. Come on,
okay,
buddy.
yeah, jeez,
You're just not in the mindset to like interpret it the way that I mean it. Right. So it's
yeah.
like, yeah. I
Anyway,
mean, you never get the data back, so I don't know if people are pissed off at all the
yeah,
times that I did that, but I'm pretty sure they were because I would get, I think, a little like I mostly am like whatever. If the only thing that annoys me is when people spam something and then I have to mute them because
yeah,
like
that's really,
it's just annoying. But mostly I don't get frustrated anymore by people saying good game when they've
they,
prematurely when they've won or
mhm.
like that stuff used to kind of get to me and that's like it was
Yeah,
what
I think.
happens.
Yeah, we might want to like update our arena etiquette episode because it's been a while. But yeah,
I mean,
there's
I
some.
still don't think you should do those things, but
No,
like for me personally, I'm just like numb to it because it's happened so many times. But
yeah, and most of the time when you're in like the actual events or that type of stuff, or you're in or there's like stakes or whatever, most of the time people aren't really shitty about it. They're like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
usually on the ladder you'll find some I don't know what to call it, dweebs. Is that a good
yeah.
term?
You just get
Just
like the good game. Oops.
yeah,
Hello. Oops.
yeah,
Good
and you're
game.
like
Oops.
you're like
Hello. And it's just like then stall out. It's like
yeah, and just
that's
rope you.
easy.
You're like, oh, okay. Anyway, standard. I'm happy that we got to talk about that because it has been a while since we've discussed some of those
Yeah.
things, and my
Yeah.
feelings have changed a little bit. But in standard, besides like Esper being the S tier deck, um, and domain being
Mhm.
around. That's just like
Yeah.
frustrating. I want to know, what are the other decks you feel that might be like in the top one? So like Esper is the best, and then Domain is like right under that. Is there anything else that's like on par with five color ramp?
So for me, like, and this is, biased by maybe decks I play and stuff. Like, I think five color ramp is kind of whatever. Like,
Hmm.
it's strong, but it's not. To me, it's like Esper, and
Hmm.
then huge gap. Not even sure that's the five colors the second best deck, but it's definitely good enough to play.
Yeah.
With you can play it with a serious face. Um, and there's a lot of different variations of five color ramp, which I think is interesting. And some of them are a little more green, and like I've seen a few of the versions that are like have both misses and are like kind of doing
Oh, green.
the like green based five color ramp
I,
thing.
for whatever reason, I thought you meant green, like they were new, like
Oh
like
yeah,
they're
yes. I mean, sort of. It's new.
yeah, yeah, but like green is in the color, of course.
Yeah, the color in the game that we play, one of five.
Hmm.
You just forgot about it because it's been so
Oh,
bad. It's been so bad
well,
in standard for
you
so
yeah,
long.
you couldn't really play it, so
Yeah.
not without white.
Um, yeah. Otherwise, I've seen a lot of um, like essentially the old mono white mid range deck. I've mostly seen it as Autumn Burchett's version with the black splash
With the
for
black
Into the
splash.
Breach.
Hmm.
Um, so that deck is pretty solid. Like it lost. I think the black splash makes more sense when you lose um like your the colorless card that I'm blanking on right now. That got banned. But
Bankbuster.
yeah, when you lose Bankbuster, it makes more sense that you have more reason to splash into a second color like uh
for
mono
the
white.
for the card advantage that you're missing in mono white.
Exactly. Because mono white traditionally doesn't draw cards, it gets card advantage other ways. And so the black splash makes more sense. I've been seeing that. Uh, I've seen like a splash of other decks, like the Jeskai Dragons deck still shows up, which blows my mind because it's like this deck needed Fable so bad. Like it relied on Fable so hard, but people just I don't know what they've found to replace Fable, but I've never been impressed with that deck. Um, but Azorius Soldiers is probably like the aggro deck of the
Hmm.
format. Um,
I wholeheartedly disagree. It's definitely toxic, and I don't
I
know
haven't
why
played
anyone.
against. I played against like one toxic deck, and I won easily. So maybe that's just biased my like opinion of it. They didn't
Or
draw very well, but it's just like I don't know. This feels like it felt like what I thought of the deck, where if they don't draw the perfect like 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna win easily. If they do draw that, it's gonna be a game.
yeah,
And
you win the coin flip, and then you win the match. That's how the game works, right?
you win the coin flip and you draw perfectly 2 to 3 times and then play well. And then also have things go your way down the line. I don't know. That's what I feel about Celestia Toxic. It just needs so much to go its way.
Nah, it's great. I love
And then if
it.
it starts to take over, people just side in the anti-Zac card and start destroying it.
Apparently, nobody plays that card. I haven't run into it. I
I've
play
run into it so many times. So I must be
the,
with people on old deck lists that just like removed Fable and added like four of those or something.
I guess. Um, but yeah, I haven't run into it, and I almost exclusively playing Celestia. Either it's enchantments or it's toxic. That's what I'm playing, and haven't seen it once. So
To be fair, you're probably a better pilot of the deck than the people on that I'm just like I've randomly run into.
well, that's very sweet of you to say. I don't know if it's true, but I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna say that I am. Um, but no, it's been a good time with the Celestia decks. I'm happy to see that that card hasn't been the bane of my existence quite yet, and I'm happy where they are at the moment because that means they're not high enough on the tier list for people to care. That's what I want. That's the best
Right.
point.
And we talked about this when the deck was winning tournaments, that like
Hmm.
the beauty of this deck is that it can win tournaments. It's good enough, but it can never dominate because if
Hmm.
people want to beat it, they can beat it.
Yes, which
And
is
so what you're describing right now is that ebb and flow that people have
mhm,
forgotten about this deck and how explosive it can be because this deck really can win the game on like turn three.
mhm.
Um, like maybe technically it's turn four, but you pretty much already lost.
You have inevitability. Yeah.
Uh, and so when people it's off the radar, they side out the anti the anti-toxic card that they put in the set
Hmm.
right after the toxic set. Um, in the color that everyone plays. Um,
In it with the flavor of the creatures that you're
but
playing that
just to
kills
top it
it.
off, it's a flavor fail. Like,
Yeah, like you gotta fucking kidding me. They're like, oh, by the way, sorry, Phyrexians don't like Phyrexian oil. What the fuck is that?
of
Stupid.
course.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, when people start moving those cards out, this deck can start creeping its way back up the ladder. I think this. I love when decks like that exist. This will range from like tier one down to tier maybe three, but
Mhm.
like it'll ebb and flow, and as people forget or like stop paying attention to it, it can. That's when it's time to
Yeah, so
strike.
Jeff, you're saying that it's tier three when everybody else plays it, but tier one when I play it, right? That's what you're
Yes,
saying? Yeah.
something like that.
uh, love it. Um,
You know what? I will say it's tier three when everyone else plays it. It's tier one when Nathan Stoyer plays it, probably.
probably. It's not his colors though, man. Like those are
Doesn't
like
matter.
explicitly not his colors. Um,
He literally won the world championship with Grixis. Yeah.
purposely kicking those colors out of the color pie. Um, but anyway, I love those decks. I think we may need a beer break because
Yeah.
we're going a bit long, but as always, we have to wait to hear what Jeff's been playing in the second half of this episode, as we usually do. So, Jeff, let's finish these beers in one go and then get to the beer break and talk some more standard.
Yeah.
Cheers. This beer break is brought to you by our patrons over on Patreon.
That's right. You're already supporting the show just by listening. But if you want to support the show even more, the Patreon is the best way to do that. Plus, you get to vote on your favorite co-host. All you have to do is click the Buy Jeff a Beer button. Don't even read the rest of the page. Honestly, just like scroll, click that as many times as you can. And that's the best way to support the show, honestly.
Yeah, no, you should really click the buy Zach a beer button because Zach is the one who edits the episodes and uploads
Mhm.
them.
All right,
But
click that button.
just go to patreon.com/arena regulars to vote on your favorite host. Honestly, it doesn't have to be me, but like, come on.
Or if you'd rather send us deck lists, you'd rather tell us what you think of the new standard meta, best way to do that is on the Discord channel. The link should be in the show notes.
Which Zach puts there every week. Love
It's
it.
that.
Jeff, I do have a beer for us this evening. It is also from Fair Weather, just because I saw this and, hey, thought we could just do both of them together. Might as well. It's a great brewery in Hamilton. And this is Dream Pop. It is a dry hop sour, American style sour ale with a bouquet of tropical citrus hops. Um,
Hmm.
it is 6.1%, and it's got a bunch of fish on it with balls. I don't know. Is this
Hmm.
like fish food, or is it just like fish swimming around like just balls? I don't really know.
I mean,
But
these kind of look like koi fish. Not crazy.
maybe they're not like they have the. I don't think so. They don't have the right coloring, right? They have goldfish
Yeah, they're a little
qualities.
too like dark
Yeah,
orange.
maybe. But I'm also not a fish expert. Um, Who knew? Who knew I'm not a
So
fish
it's probably a
expert?
combo of whoever drew this and us, but not fish experts on either end.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, another shirt-worthy beer. Um,
yeah, for sure, I would wear it this year.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
this I noticed this one has a hop bouquet, and the
Yeah.
other one had a fat bag. So
Yeah, well, that one was an IPA and this one was a
I
sour.
love how they're
So,
using standardized units of measurement on their hops.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen that before. Those,
Bouquet versus fat bag.
yeah. We'll see if we prefer the bouquet or the fat bag. Um, but of course, as always, I'm bringing the sour because duh. Um, oh, baby. All right, Jeff. With that, let's get back into some standard talk.
Yeah. All right. So I would say the metagame
Hmm.
is exactly as predicted. There's one super deck. There's a bunch of decks that were already good and are still pretty good. Um, Essentially, so far, no real shocks to the metagame.
Yeah,
Honestly, there's no new deck that I'm playing against,
that's
that has emerged thanks to the bans,
hmm
um, which is what we expected because the bans were so conservative.
light. Yeah.
So that being said, I have been working on a totally new deck, and I
Okay.
have been loving it. Now, this is something we alluded to when I believe when March of the Machine came out that I had interest in building this deck,
Okay.
and I finally took a stab at it, and I've just been having so much fun. The deck that I've been playing is Phyrexia Tribal.
All
So
right.
I'm playing black white Phyrexians. Um, I did not expect this to be as deep a project as it has been and just as fun as it has been. So I would like to talk a little bit about what you can do to build Phyrexian Tribal.
I'm excited for this because I don't know anything about this at all. I'm just like one of you listening here. So tell me, Jeff.
I mentioned that I'm in platinum. That's from like bottom bronze to, well, currently bottom platinum. That is 100% of this deck.
Oh,
And I have
all right.
done a lot of losing. So I don't know what my win rate is. I think it's about 50, but it's probably not too far above. Um, but this deck has been amazing because I've never built a deck that, and like I'm not even on the final version for sure, no way. But I've never built a deck that is so different from the initial version that I laid out. Like the number of overlapping cards is probably like 12, like,
Oh my
maybe.
God.
Like this deck has been churning, man, like just
Hmm.
been changing, and that's what's made it so fun to build. So like usually the decks that I just love to build are the really weird ones, like the decks where I send them to Zach and he looks at the deck list, he's like, I don't understand what this is, and then has to play it a bunch of times, and it's like, oh, maybe I kind of get it now. Like I love those decks. This is not that, right? Because it's just a tribal deck, but like this has been the most fun and most churn to build that I've had in a long time. And the reason is simple. There are a ton of Phyrexians to choose from to put in your deck, and they all synergize, but are ultimately like leaning towards different game plans. So I would say the biggest decision you want to play, you at home, you want to
Hmm.
play black white Phyrexian tribal. You've already made a decision not to splash. Hint: don't splash.
Hmm.
Um, you have enough. Just black and white. You have enough. Um, I would say the first decision to make is: do you want to really lean into the aristocrats kind of sacrifice style of strategy, or do you want to be more of an aggressive? This is a tribal deck, beat you down strategy. And I think the big shift for me was that obviously I started with the Aristocrats build, and I just started cutting Aristocrats style cards like left and right. And now I'm the beatdown. Now I'm
Okay,
now I'm like,
now you're talking. Now you're talking.
yeah.
This is yeah.
Best card in my deck is like crawling horse, like that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, oh,
That card better fucking be in my opener. Um,
I mean, like I'm all down. I'm so down for
I
that card.
thought you
Okay.
might be. I thought you
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my original list was like I still had four Pokemon Plus. Don't get me wrong. Everyone knows that card's good.
Oh, and
Um,
aristocrats, of course, as well. So.
yeah, but I was playing like Village Rights. I was playing like the full. I was playing Brands. I
Hmm.
was playing like just basically everything was kind of geared towards that's the strength of the deck. Because okay, so I don't know if it's I still consider it the best card in the deck. It might be second best, but the best card in the deck, my early identification was Bloated Processor, which is sacrifice Phyrexian, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's 3/2 for 3. When it dies, you incubate equal to its power. This card is nuts. I should clarify. Sacrifice another Phyrexian.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it would be insane.
Yeah.
But that if you've never played with a free sacrifice outlet, it is ridiculous. It is way too good. I was surprised they printed this card. And so that's what I was saying. When this was printed, I was following it out. And now I'm just getting around to it. Turns out, yes, that card is insane. Um, and so I was like, that's the best card. We got to build all the way around that.
Hmm.
I think I've come to the decision that actually that card is so good, you don't need to build around it. Just having it there is enough. Um, what you want to do is build like an aggro deck that is just resilient to everything aggro decks are usually weak to because it has that card,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So it's like, sure, my deck is bad against board wipes, except that I can sack them all and like drain your life with my. I always want to call him Elias, but it's Elas, ill core. There's no
Yeah.
I. I'm always like Elias. No,
Yeah.
it's not his name. Uh,
Eli.
but like you don't need the brands. The brands were terrible.
Hmm.
You don't need the other ways to sacrifice stuff. You really don't. You just need bloated processor and this, and that acts as like a safety net against that kind of stuff, all on its own. The real best card in the deck is Grafted Butcher. I don't know if you've actually like taken the time to read this card, but this is an insane board that is
Hmm.
so stupid that I'm just like, I somehow this card kind of slipped by me. Like I read it, I'm like, that's a pretty good lord. I didn't realize what it actually says.
I mean, like we
Just
did
like,
talk about this card. Like,
right.
there's no accident. Like, I know that we definitely talked about it, but continue.
I think what I didn't realize is how interesting it is
Hmm.
because it's a lord that you don't want to just jam because sometimes you might be able to get more use out of the menace ETB. So this deck is so fun to play because you don't just jam your lord and attack with everything. In fact,
Hmm.
you feel bad doing that. If you jam your lord and attack with two things, you're like, oh, I feel like later in the game I'm gonna have like 5 creatures, and I'm gonna wish I
Hmm.
could give them menace. Um, I don't, this deck is so cool, and also like when you talk about top end, okay. So I feel like there's a core. You need four butchers. You
Hmm.
need four loaded processors. To me, those are no brainers. You need
Yeah.
four crawling cores. I think pretty much everything else is negotiable, but
Hmm.
you need that 1, 2, 3, those for sure, four of
Yeah.
each of those. And those are the 12 I was talking about that might be the only thing that stayed
That
constant.
survived. Yeah.
I realize Elas was also 4 of in both decks, so it's 16 cards probably that
Okay.
were in both builds. Um, Everything else is there's so many out there. So many 1 drops you could choose. There's so many 2 drops, 3 drops, and then there's top end that you can choose as well. Like I've personally settled on uh, two Gicks. I think you need Gicks,
I
which
do
is
like that.
incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't, another card I didn't realize just how good it was. And then I realized, wait, when you have Gicks and you have a card that gives all of your Phyrexians menace, you don't really need other card advantage engines. That's insane
Hmm.
because you're gonna get like so much through. I've had people just concede to me playing a menace thing after gigs when they didn't kill it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna draw three cards and you're gonna take nine. Is
Hmm.
that cool? And they're like, it is not cool. I concede.
I concede.
um, and the other card that has really, really wowed me and is up to two copies, but I'm considering three, is Ilishnorn.
Just
There's no
just
rider to that,
just
just
Elishnorn.
Ilishnorn.
I mean,
Um,
I will once again say that I loved Elishnorn when it came out, so and you
yeah, I
felt the
think
cold, but
I super underestimated. Like I did not get the ability. Now
mhm,
that I play it, it's ridiculous. Like
it's
sometimes you
so
just
good.
win because you have a wide board. And your opponent tapped out to block, and you're like, okay, but each block's going to cost you two life.
Hmm.
See you later. Like anytime you block my 1/1, you take two damage. Is that cool with you?
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess you're dead. And if they, and then there's also the situations where you just transform it and win the game.
Hmm.
Um, and then even some more situations on top of that where a 3/5 vigilance is just pretty good. So it's like, no, this card is nuts. I played one and it won me a bunch of games. I was like, should I? Because I'm low on mythic rare wild cards from all of
Hmm.
my brewing. I was like, dare I craft another? And I dared, and I have not looked back. And now I'm thinking
Wonderful.
about daring to craft the third. Um,
Ooh.
the one thing I'll call out is I'm currently I'm currently playing a gigantic flavor fail. It's been working out all right for me. But I'm playing Archangel Elspeth in my Phyrexians deck. And I'm like turning Phyrexians into angels, giving them flying for the win. But it's not it's not that hard to get to the ultimate, and the ultimate returns all creatures with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's like insanely good in this deck. And it only takes
Okay.
2 turns. So it's like it's the best like board wipe response ever. You just slap this down and be like, okay, you have like 1 turn, or you're gonna get fucked. I guess they have two, but like if they leave it alone, I'll have I'll have a board again. It's pretty good. But it does every
Okay.
time I'm just like, oh, this is the only like flavor fail in my whole deck. Everything else is fire accident.
I mean, like it feels like maybe you just need to shift your focus from like it's a flavor fill because the deck is Phyrexians, or it's more of a deck about the story and she comes in and I mean I guess she brings them all back to life, so like that's not really what
I've
happened.
literally turned Ilishnorn into a flying angel and
Angel?
attacked with it.
Okay. Not the same as stabbing her in the chest, but all
Yeah.
right. So
In
yeah, for
fact,
sure.
granting her your power.
Wings. Yeah, all right. No, I don't. I was trying to swing it for you, but I don't think I can. You're right.
Yeah. But there's just so many like you could play either Shieldred, I think are totally reasonable. You could play Drivnod, which doubles sack triggers or death triggers if you wanted to go more into the aristocrats build.
Hmm.
Even a random vampire Phyrexian that whenever a non-token creature dies, you can like bring it back, which I didn't even know existed, but it's an option. It's like Kinzu of the League Oven, something like that.
Oh,
Um, like if you just search Phyrexian, there are
that's
so many options.
yeah. It's right here. I have not seen the. Is this? This is a card. Is this the black card that was like added, like the four rares after
I have
the
no
set?
idea. I'd never
I
heard of
think
it
so.
until I searched, and I was like, that actually might not be that bad in this deck. That
Yeah,
was when I was on more of a aristocrats build.
I'm pretty sure that that's like, you know how they have like extra rares that are part of like the mastery pass. I think that's
Yeah,
one of the
that are
rares.
supposed to be kind of unplayable.
Yes. Well. maybe not.
Oh, I mean, I did end up cutting it, but I was trying stuff, man. Like
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I want that I really seek in this deck is another one drop beyond Crawling Chorus. And I haven't found anything that really makes me
What?
happy.
You don't like Skrelv?
I hate Skrell in this deck. I've tried it multiple times. I keep like rebuilding the deck and then being like, oh, Skrell is probably good now. And then put it back in. And it's always so bad. I'm always just like, this is like garbage Crawling Chorus.
Why? I mean, it doesn't.
Because like you're not really a toxic deck. I have poisoned people out, but generally you don't win that way. So the giving someone toxic and unblockable is not that useful. And then like I don't care that much about any individual creature. So the protection isn't that
Okay.
useful either.
I guess
And
I
the fact that it can't block has come up so many fucking times where I'm like, if this was crawling for us, I would have won the game because I just blocked that.
because you just block. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
get that. Um, but
It's essentially a might in this deck. And it's just like I don't want to pay a mana for a might.
yeah, I mean, like having it
A might
just
token. I know it actually is a might.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like it just sitting there on the battlefield and making it so like people won't be able to really use single target removal. Is that useful ever?
Not really, because like
You can sacrifice stuff to the bloated processor instead.
yeah, so it could protect the bloated processor, but that
That's
just doesn't come up often enough to make it worth an inclusion.
gotcha.
Like generally, I'm just like, I wish this one drop was almost anything else. Um,
That's interesting.
yeah, because it's obviously such a powerful card. So I keep coming back to it because I keep changing the deck, being like, originally it was a total aristocrats build, and I'm like, no, the whole point is I don't care about my creatures and they
Hmm.
they die. And then I rebuilt it to be a little more aggro, a little more. Some of my creatures are really good. But if you think about the creatures that are good, like the butcher, you actually want it to die a lot of the time because
Hmm.
it can come back. So a pretty common play for those of you who want to play this at home. And I've watched because I've just like been super into this deck. I'm watching what other people build. Um, I've seen streamers or like even pro Magic players who try this deck. I've seen them make the following mistake where they miss lethal, which is that it's almost always correct, I would say, to sacrifice your lord to your processor and then just bring it back. I think so many people miss lethal where they are thinking like, oh, I'm close, whatever, whatever. Usually, if you're close, sacking your lord and bringing it back to give your whole team menace does the
Get you
trick.
there.
Um, and so many people are like, oh, I can play this card, I can play this card. It's like, no, if you have 4 mana and you have Butcher and Processor, almost always right to sack the Butcher. And a lot of time, other people will attack, and I'll just like block with my Butcher, and then they'll concede because
Hmm.
they now realize it's like a stall, and then they realize why I blocked with my Lord, and they're like, oh, it's because it's gonna come back and give his whole team menace next turn, and now I lose. It's like that happens so often because people just aren't used to this card, and the
Yeah.
card is outrageously good. Like probably the best Lord I've ever seen. It shouldn't come in, give everything menace, gives everything +1/+1, and then come back
And
from
then
the
come back
dead later.
for, and it's a 2 drop.
For 2 mana. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a 2/2. Like it's insane. Um, so that's actually like the reason
Yeah.
to play Phyrexians is that Lord is just that good.
Hmm.
But then they just have so many options. They have so many cards, so they can adapt to the meta. Like, don't get me wrong, this deck still has trouble with Esper. Like,
Hmm.
it's hard to beat Esper. You tend to get ahead of them, but not quickly enough before they start. There's like raw card power
Yeah.
just starts to take you over. But you can beat any other deck in the meta. Um, yeah, like
Yeah.
I've found
Uh,
I've been really good against Domain. Um, Atraxa is just not that good. Like for those of you that don't play as many sacrifice decks as me, your opponent thinks they've stabilized with Atraxa. You attack with everything. You sack with whatever Atraxa blocks. They don't gain the life. That's the
Mhm.
that's like standard trick. Um, you know, word of warning: don't attack
Don't.
with your bloated
That's
processor.
what I was about to say. I was like, you can't block, you
No,
can't do the trick with the blood processor. But um, that's
bloated
funny because
processor, unfortunately, is not meant to go husk.
I've been doing the other thing where like that deck gets their Atraxa and they're like ready to untap and unload, and I'm like, while you were doing Atraxa shit, I have a bunch of hallowed hauntings, and like I'm gonna play three
Yeah,
or four enchantments this turn. They're gonna get fucking huge, and it doesn't
I no
matter.
longer give a shit about
Like
Atraxa. Yeah,
you,
it's way too
like
late.
you
Yeah,
can block. I'm still gonna deal like 45 damage to you. Like
right.
you're gonna die. Um. So yes, I'm in the same train of like fuck Atraxa. Who cares?
Yeah.
That's great.
It doesn't matter. Like if your whole plan is to spend a long time and then stabilize with Atraxa, just not good enough.
No, not good enough.
Um,
Which feels awesome. Just
yeah.
it feels so good to kill somebody when they did the thing. Um.
Although you also shouldn't make the mistake that I did, which was I was playing uh, Evolved Sleeper, is that the name of
Mhm.
it? You also can't sack that to the loaded processor unless it is on its third
The
phase and is a Phyrexian. It's actually not a Phyrexian until you uh, level it up. So I did punt a game that way where it was just a 1-1. No reason
mhm.
to attack with it.
Yeah.
Didn't change the map at all. But my opponent sniffed it out and blocked it. And I was like, you know what? I fucked up. Good job recognizing it, opponent, because you didn't
Mhm.
block my biggest thing. You blocked that, realizing that I can't sack it. And that's on me.
That's on me.
Yeah.
Woof. I am interested. Are you playing Progenitor Exarch? Did you mention that?
I
That's
don't even know what that is.
Progenitor Exarch is like the XX white.
Oh,
Um,
that one. No,
yeah.
no.
Okay.
So my only incubate I'm leaning into is the bloated processor.
Okay.
Um, I just found like I tried the 2-drop that makes the incubate token. Wasn't great. Like I find I've actually leaned a lot more into mites. So I'm 4 of Skrell's Hive
Oh, okay. That's
and
because all the lifelink is so good.
3 of Charge of the Mites, baby.
Hmm.
Like my original build was playing
Oh,
like some Wandering Emperor, was playing some like wedding
announcements.
announcements to
Hmm.
try to just again lean into the sacrifice build, but also just like add some power to the deck. I just found Charge of the Mites way better than Wedding Announcement in this deck because it has
Get
Phyrexians
yeah, and
and
they're
it doubles its removal.
it's like instant speed, two at the same time. Okay.
They have Toxic to turn on the
Hmm.
spell side and stuff. Like
And if your whole
um,
deck, because like yeah, wait. The Skrelf's Hive says that creatures with toxic have lifelink, right?
yeah,
Okay. For a second, I thought that it just said Phyrexians, and I was like, "Holy
no,
shit!"
that would be insane.
Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
like, "That's a perfect include," but no, no. Okay. So it does.
Still, with my build of the deck, you tend to have 3-4 because I'm playing Mirexes as well.
Yeah.
Like you tend to have
Murex.
more. My
Yeah.
Mirex is just insane.
That card's amazing. It's so
It's
good.
ridiculously good.
It's so good.
Um, I owed that one to you because I remember you talking about it, and I didn't even notice it during previous season. I was like, oh yeah, Zach liked Mirex, and I added 2 of them to my deck, and the next thing you know, that number is 3,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, should it be 4? No, that's too
Nah.
greedy. That's too.
It like you get some bad like
You get some
hands
awkward draws.
if
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I can play two cards. I have two Murex. This is so awkward. Um, but yeah, that
And I
card's
have
so
like
good.
a couple of seed cores in there. Like it plays most of my deck because
Oh,
it
okay,
taps any color for Phyrexian creatures,
that's
but
true.
it doesn't play like Skrell's Hive or
Hmm. Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. A little awkward.
Well, you don't
But
have as
man,
many.
is it good to
It's
+2/+1 a
it's
1/1.
it's really good. Um, especially if you're leaning into the mites thing. Yeah, seed core at least one. How many are you playing?
Yeah. I think I should probably like I'm playing 2 and 2 because I was
Hmm.
testing the seed core. I think it should probably be 3 Murex, 1 seed core.
I think that's right because
Uh,
Murex is. I also realize Murex is significantly better than seed core. The amount of times I
yeah.
wish that my seed core was a Murex. Like,
Yeah, that's what was happening. Like I was playing 3 Murex and no seed core.
hmm.
And then I was like, oh, let me play more seed core. I should probably cut a Murex if I'm getting that greedy. And then I'm probably gonna land on 3+1.
Hmm.
Um, I also have a surprising number of legendaries in my deck, so I kicked up the Iganjo number to 2 because like Iganjo was just an all-star where it was often costing 1.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I have Elas and Elishnorn. Yes, this costs 1. Like, fuck
Yeah,
you.
that's the other thing. I think we've mentioned this before, but like really, really when you're playing against Esper Legends, like if you sniff out that if they have 2 mana open and they played like just their Skrelv, don't attack. Like
Mhm.
if they didn't play their 2 drop, they probably have like Anjo in their hand and they can play it for 2 mana and they're hiding it with the Skrelv. Like
Yeah,
just that just sniff it out. It's just that's just the new world where like you have to count all of their
right. Is
channels
the
are going to
two
cost one.
damage worth the likelihood that they have Iganjo in their hand? I would say generally, like, no.
No, yeah, it's really not. So um, don't do that. It basically that is the same scenario as attacking into 4 white mana. Like just don't do it.
Yeah, which we all know.
Mm,
Never do that.
yeah,
Unless you don't care, or unless you
that's true.
have a bloated processor on the field.
Yeah.
Happens so often that I attack with everything except bloated processor, and my opponent, getting that wheel of like, fuck, I was really planning on exiling your bloated processor when you attack. It's like,
Hmm.
I'm not your average silver player.
Yeah, yeah. When I was playing the Pioneer games against Azorius Control, like they had 4 untapped like white mana or whatever enough
Yeah,
to play
yeah,
Wandering Emperor, and I have like my 2 creatures I've been attacking with the whole game, and then I'm now just attacking with my hexproof creature, and they're like, "You
yeah.
just that's the only creature?" I was like, "I'm just attacking with this one, nothing
Correct.
else,"
Just this
and
one.
they're like, "That okay, all right," and I'm like.
You're like, yes, this one that can't be
Mhm.
targeted by the Wandering Emperor is the only
Yes,
one I'm
is the
attacking
only
with.
one I'm attacking with. I will not attack with my SRAM. Sorry. And they're just
Yeah.
like, okay. And at the end of the game, I get to be like, I put you on that very early, and it was very obvious. Like, I knew. I still
Yeah.
lost, but it didn't matter. Um,
No, that's always fun. Like that's I think that part's interesting in Magic
mhm,
for like at all, where both you and your opponent know what card is in
mhm.
their hand. Um, but you only probably know,
Yeah,
and they only like think you probably know. Like
yeah.
so you have a little bit of discontinuity, but that part is really fun in person because
Mhm.
you're just both like, "Dude, come on, we
You,
both
you,
come
come on,
on."
come on. Yeah, it's similar to like asking them afterwards, like, how long did you have that? Or when I was playing against the Rakdos player, they played 3 um, Blood Tithe Harvesters back to back to back to
Yeah,
perfectly kill all my stuff.
sounds like Rakdos.
And so I just asked him, like, after he played the third one, I was like, did you just draw that? He's like, I just drew it. I was like, okay, as
Yeah.
long as you just drew it, I feel better. But if you had that in your hand, that makes my play really, really bad.
Like I thought I waited out your 2 removal
Yeah.
spells and then gotcha, and then you just
Yeah.
had another one. Yeah.
And you had the other one to kill the last thing that I had in my hand. And it just, but yeah, being able to do that little decompress. Um, but as far as the Phyrexians, this seems awesome. Like I so I'm back on the I don't know how much I like soldiers train. I'm flip flopping all over the place. I think what I really liked was like Invasion of Gobakon, and then like as far as other, have you tried Invasion of Gobakon by the way?
I have 2 in my sideboard. I
Okay, I think
think
that's
you could
good.
probably play it. Um, I think you might be able to main deck it. Like there's a lot of options. There's a lot of
Yeah, I
options.
was gonna say like I think the sideboard plan is smart, because like that definitely helps against your like whole board wipe issue.
Yeah.
And
The deck is like, despite its resilience relative to a regular aggro deck, it is more resilient to board wipes. It's still weak to them. Like
mm,
Sunfall and Farewell are still a real bummer. But
yeah.
like Sunfall doesn't feel as bad because you sack everything to the bloated processor, and then they get a one, like
Hmm.
a 1/1, or I guess however many they had plus one
Hmm.
um, incubate
Incubate
token.
token, yeah.
But it does highlight the one weakness of processor that can't sack itself. Zero is like, oh man, if this could sack itself, my opponent would be so fucked. But then you have to realize that if it could sack itself, it would be one of the best cards in standard or the
Yeah.
best card. But like that's its weakness, that you could
Hmm.
target it with exile, and that always sucks. Um, but yeah, it is still weak to board wipes, but it is more resilient than an aggro deck usually is.
Hmm. Yeah. I do like that because there was a period of time I was trying to build a deck that was like I wanted to do the Thalia Get Rock Monster thing, but ultimately it
Ooh,
just came down to like
love it.
First Strike Death Touch dot deck, and so
Yeah.
it's just playing Glissa and all the different things that would do that, which then kind of morphed into a green black Phyrexian deck that had more incubate
Yeah.
stuff going on.
Yeah,
Um,
heavy on incubate.
and the other Glissa that can transform all of them. Um, and so that ended up being kind of interesting. But then it fell a little bit closer to, it ended up turning into more of like a Abzan Legends deck where you're playing Plaza of Heroes to play all your creatures and
Right.
stuff. Um, it never really got there, and it's like kind of fun, but like not fantastic. So I'm much more interested in playing this more streamlined white black, more my wheelhouse type of
Yeah, I think the
aggro.
huge reason to do that is, first of all, the games where you play Crawling Chorus in turn one, your win rate skyrockets relative to the games where you don't get to play Crawling Chorus on turn one.
Hmm.
And so I think keeping just two colors really helps you out there. And the other thing is like, I don't know, man. Elish Norn is amazing. Like,
Hmm.
and the double white and two, you really want to be able to cast that on turn four. It's so satisfying to go like 1, 2, 3. I'm like beating you down, and then like, hey, have fun blocking. And like, also, it's like, not only is it going to be super hard for you to block, you also have to kill this because it's literally just going to win the game on its own. And even if you kill that, like I still have all my other stuff, and you've lost a bunch of life to it and stuff like that. So it's like, I've been very impressed with Elishnorn. Um, I've just won so many games
Yes.
with it that I really
Yeah.
had no business. I had no business winning them. So
Hmm.
it's like, oh yeah, but it turns out making 5/2/2 that next turn will become double strikers, and then I just flash back my stupid menace guy that gives them plus. Like suddenly I have 5/3/3, or sorry, 4/4 double strike menace.
It's just like,
Do I win? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I win.
oh my
Like,
god, that's
do you have
insane.
enough blockers for? No, you don't have enough
No.
blockers for that. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's why would you not have enough? Oh, because
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Ooh, you only have 9 blockers. That's so embarrassing. So take 8, and you're
Yeah,
dead. I don't know what
that's
you were
awesome.
thinking that 9 blockers would be enough.
I love that. That's great. That seems so fun. I'm
And
excited
then
for.
sometimes it has happened that the
Okay.
double strike chapter does not win the game. It then destroys all non-Phyrexian. That one's gonna win for
Yeah.
sure. So they're just sitting there with like a big middle finger to them, like kill this or lose.
Yeah.
Um, but not in like the Shieldred kill this or lose way. Like the really, like you're
It
dead
it
next turn.
reminds me a bit more of like Kiora Best the Sea God kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like no, you have to win now, or
Yeah.
like destroy me now,
Yeah.
or you're dead.
Hmm.
It's not like I'm probably gonna win the game over a few turns, like Shieldred is.
Yeah.
Um, But hey, if you love Shieldred, you can play Shieldred in this deck. It's a Phyrexian.
That's
Doesn't
true.
really synergize that well because we don't. I mean, I guess it synergizes with the Gix. We draw cards, have Gix,
That's true.
but like, I don't know. It's just a good Phyrexian you can play.
Yeah. You can play. Well, you can play Shieldred the Apocalypse. You can also play Shieldred.
Yep,
Um,
that's
not
right.
as synergistic, but
Yeah, I've been testing it. I haven't loved it. I'm probably gonna cut
a
it,
bit
but
too expensive,
um,
I would assume.
it's
But
just yeah, five is just so
mhm,
much more than four. But
yeah, it is so much. Well, I want to see that list, and but also when you're ready for it, of course. So I know it can
oh
be
yeah, I'll
very.
post it. I currently have Weatherlight completed in there, and it's been so hit or miss. The card either does nothing or completely dominates the game, and I love it. But
Those are the types of cards that I really like,
yeah,
um, because I mean,
when you have
obviously,
the bloated processor,
mhm,
it's very good.
mhm. When you
When you
don't,
don't
it's
have, yeah,
very
it's
bad.
garbage.
Well, that's good to know. Um,
So
anyway,
you were saying those are the types of cards you really
I was
like.
just gonna say types of cards that I like. Cards that are like in certain situations really good, but other situations really bad, or like just
Yeah,
tend to be the stuff I play. Um,
it's the card that I know should get cut because I side it out almost every game.
mhm.
I'm like, but I just love that card. So I'm like, no, it's good. And then every time I'm really on the cusp of getting rid of it, it wins me a game. I'm
Mhm.
like, yes, I
Yes.
knew I should have left this in here. It's like, how many more games would I have won if I cut that like a week, 2
Yeah,
days
yeah, yeah.
ago?
It's funny because like you don't do the other thing where like you don't keep them in your sideboard to bring them in when you feel like it. You could leave them in the
Yeah,
main deck and then take them out, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, no, this is crap
Yeah.
because it is so like mentally relaxing
Hmm.
to just always know what you're taking out.
Yeah. It's like that's why you put the disdainful stroke in your deck. Like, okay, and then take out disdainful stroke because it's not actually good
Yeah, it's
against the
not
deck
good
of playing.
here. Yeah,
It's
it's
good
not good
against
against green
one.
white toxic,
Yeah, it's
actually.
it's good against one deck, but not the other ones. Yeah. Mm. Anyway, Jeff, do you think we should wrap this up and go to last call?
Yes.
All right.
Um, I have a call to the listeners to
Oh,
tell me which Phyrexian I'm forgetting because there are just so many. I literally can't parse them all. So I'm sure there are some good Phyrexians that are not on my list that I should be thinking about. Don't save Phyrexian Censor. That card sucks ass in standard. Sorry, it's not a standard card.
I, I just, I'm sorry. I just love that. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Um,
terrible. Don't play it in standard. Play it in old ass one.
it
That's
just
very good.
it just made it sound like you've definitely tried it and definitely failed with it. That's what it sounded like to me. Um,
I haven't even tried it actually. I just know. I just know.
you
But also
just
I've seen streamers try it and they always hate it. It's
gotcha.
mostly
Okay. All right. I mean, that can make sense, especially because most decks aren't trying to play multiple cards in the same turn.
and there's just randomly good Phyrexians that don't
People
enter
play.
the battlefield tapped and like, fuck, oh, they're just cast shield and my thing didn't work. No, that
Yeah.
sucks.
And they can play more cards. Cool.
Yeah.
Um, love it. Anyway, yes, go to our Discord and at Jeff, regular Jeff, and you can tell him which Phyrexians he missed. But with that, let's go to last call where we rate the beers for the evening. As always, we rate our beers on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. Currently, I'm in gold, and Jeff, I heard, was in platinum. Hey, the
Platinum.
winner of the evening.
Plat
Though,
four.
yeah, these tiers really don't mean
Yeah.
anything. They're just a fun way to rate beers. So don't feel bad when we talk about how horrible certain tiers are. And when we say that, we mean that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You can't drink them. You have to spit them out and throw up because they're so bad.
Silver beers aren't quite that bad. They're just kind of boring. So macrobrewers tend to find themselves in this category.
Yeah, gold beers are fine, but you won't really think about them again.
Platinum, these are super solid. In fact, I would say platinum's like actually the best tier to be in of any tier. Like only the top notch things end
Yeah,
up there. Um,
totally.
no, these
Yeah,
are good beers, solid. You would drink them again.
yeah. Platinum's like the Phyrexian tier.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, solid.
really low. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
not the best, but decent.
yeah, but decent. Diamond beers are exceptional. You really like them. You show them to your friends. You bring them to parties. These are ones that sit in your fridge, and you love them.
Mythic, best of the best. You would recommend this to anyone who will listen. You will travel to get this beer. Hey, these are these are the Esper legends of the beer world.
Ah, wow. It's funny because I like don't love Esper Legends, so it like misses it. But
Yeah,
Esper Legends is the best right now. So
and I think it's the best by like a fair enough margin, but it's fair to call it out as the mythic deck.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Jeff, do you have your beer for this evening?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm here as well. I'm ready for it. Here we go. Three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one.
High
High
grade.
grade. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew you were going to pick that. And as I was drinking it, I had to actually like focus my mind to think about it because it just felt so smooth and delicious
Yeah.
that it was just going down. And it didn't feel like um, some other IPAs that like throw a bunch of hops in there. Uh,
Especially when it's like a fat bag of hops, or it's
yeah,
advertised as a ton of hops, which it does have, but it doesn't feel as much of a chore as
yeah.
some like really hoppy beers
Yeah,
feel
it didn't
like.
feel like aggressive or it didn't like spit in my face or anything. It just
Mhm.
feels like, I guess, really high grade. The words on the side say juicy, dank, and tropical, and I think that's perfect because like
Correct. Yes.
it just has a little bit of that dank from the hops, but for the most part, this is delicious. This is
Yeah.
I can give this to any like non IPA drinker, folks that are like, oh, I don't like IPAs, I don't like hoppy beers. I don't. You can give this to them and be like, but just taste this one.
I
This
think
is
so, probably, right? And you're like,
yeah,
there's a lot of hops in that. Um, yeah, coming in, I was like, I know I like this beer. Um, so I was doing the opposite of you, where I was like, I gotta try to just like disengage and then pretend like I'm trying it for the first time or whatever. Like try to throw away any preconceived notions I have of times when I was drinking it, just drinking it and not like trying to actually evaluate it against
hmm
other things. Um, and I still think it was awesome. Like it got a high grade.
yeah. I oh, gotcha. Okay, because it's called high grade. Sorry, I totally missed that. That's funny. Um, no, it's delicious. Um, I mean, Jeff, you picked it too. What are you gonna give this?
This has been like stock diamond for me for a while, but I
hmm
haven't had the chance to really reevaluate it. And I think it's time that I add this to my mythic list. So
I
this mythic, I think, is a perfect example of what an IPA should and could be.
mhm. I I'm gonna agree with you. I think high grade is a mythic, and
Woohoo!
when we talk about traveling to a brewery to pick up certain beers, I want to travel to Fairweather. I mean, that's the only reason I'd really go to Hamilton. Um,
Yeah, I get that. Maybe visit Ryan.
yeah, go
Right.
check out Ryan. Um, but
Also, Ryan, if you're listening, let's get this happening.
yeah,
A high grade magic party sounds like it's in
yeah.
order.
By the way, Ryan is our friend that works at Fairweather. If you didn't listen to our episode with Ryan,
Made this beer with his own two hands.
yeah. his high graded fingers. But no, this beer is fantastic, and it has a great reputation. Enough so that like literally, this is the beer that is the only reason that like the coffee shop I bought the beer from, that the person who I talked to, the person who like brings it in, and they're saying
Mhm.
this is the reason they bring it in. Like that's why they like the brewery, and it's this beer. And I don't think that actually colored what I thought of it as I was drinking it, but I'm always looking for IPAs that like really, you know how you don't love um sours that taste like juice
Mhm.
and they taste more like beer. Well, I really like IPAs that taste closer to like a regular beer, I think, than
Right.
like overboard. And this one tastes so much closer to like just kind of bumps into a bit of bitter hoppiness, but not like really driving it in. Delicious. Mm.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's so great because it also delivers that, like, as someone who loves IPAs, it still delivers an IPA to me.
Yeah.
So it can be like, hey, I'm of a beer to people who IPA isn't their favorite like style, and
Hmm.
also be, hey, I'm an IPA to people who IPA is their favorite style. So
Yeah.
um, no, I mean this beer is fantastic. Actually, speaking of Ryan, when I moved here, I bought a keg off him of high grade and
Oh, that's the beer that. Okay.
my in my basement. But the first time like I ordered it, he's like, "Hey, our latest batch wasn't up to my standards, so like, you know, maybe we'll order it next time or something." So I have this notion in my head of the first time of me having high grade was literally like a hand-picked keg from the brewer at the brewery being like, yeah, he's gonna love this one. And like the previous keg just wasn't up to his internal standards or something. So now I just have like this high bar for it. And then tonight it still met that bar for me. So
Nice.
I just
It's
yeah,
yeah. It's so good. I love it.
yeah,
Um.
I just love
Uh,
the spirit.
Yeah, it's funny because like I didn't remember you saying that. I remember that keg. I don't remember you. I don't remember it being this beer. And this beer just looked like a whatever beer to me. So I'm happy
Right.
that it just like everything has been fantastic tonight. I feel great. Um,
Yeah.
let's go to Dream Pop and close this episode out. So
Yes.
dry hopped sours, definitely something I'm really into. This one is really nice. I like the flavors in it. It really delivers on what it's talking about. But it does taste like a lot of other dry hop sours and kind of
Mhm.
has like, run of the mill qualities, but is very tasty.
Yeah, exactly what I thought about it. Like it's good. I like that um it does taste like a beer. It's not
Hmm.
like juice like some sours tend to be. Um but didn't blow me away.
Yeah, definitely. Like platinum. It's a Phyrexian beer.
Yeah, this
Um,
is sort of quintessential platinum for me.
yeah, really good. Like it. But we'll definitely forget about it. Not forget about it. Sorry, that's gold. But like I'm when I travel to Hamilton to pick up high grade, Dream Pop will not necessarily be on the list. Um,
They'll
it'll be
have other
like,
sours that you'll be enticed by. You'll pick up some high grade and then whatever their other sour they have is.
yeah, whatever I try when that's new when I'm there, probably. So
They do a good job of that. So
awesome, awesome. All right, Jeff, we rated some beers. We're ready for closing time. So you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
you may also find us on MPG Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
And if you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That is Zeulberg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is our Discord channel. Go by at Regular Jeff. I will be sharing Black White Phyrexian deck lists aplenty, I'm sure. And if you'd love to interact about that, I would love that too. So the link for that should be in the show notes.
That is right. I will also be there stealing deck lists and posting how I changed it by one card and pretending it's mine. Um,
And he means adding one card and not removing anything. It's a
yeah,
total nightmare.
yeah. I'm just gonna put four Skrelvs in there and say it's Zach's version. Um, also, please leave us a review on Spotify, on Apple iTunes. I don't know, wherever you leave reviews. Leave them there. Follow us on Spotify. Go to YouTube. Leave a comment, like a video. We love to talk with you. Even just last week, I had a whole conversation with one of our listeners who was new. So if that was you, thank you for commenting. It was a good back and forth. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that Skrell is just a really bad crawling chorus.
Good night. All right, that's fine.